For the front brakes on this 2001 PT Cruiser, if you're on the left side, turn your steering wheel to the left, jack it up, set it on jack stands. Never trust a jack by itself. It's not a good thing. I'm going to be changing the rotors too. We got two 18mm holding the caliper hanger on, and two 12mm holding the caliper to the caliper hanger. And you'll want a wire or bungee cord to hang the caliper up by the strut spring. I'll give it some room to come off of there. If these pins turn back here, you can put like a 17mm or 18 on them and hold them. This front's getting new pads put in it. I'll hang the caliper up so the rubber hose doesn't get stressed out. 18mm caliper hanger bolts out. Like that. Pads go down pretty good. Plus the rotor's rotten. And the next best tool. These are just little rotors. They're really not hard to get off or been stuck on. Rotten. Take some brake cleaner and degrease that, and go over this face with a wire brush, and then spray it down with some brake cleaner to remove particles off of it. And check your tie rod ends and lift up between this ball joint and this arm, see if this ball joint is shot while you're in here. Check the boots for any grease leaking out of them or problems while you're in here. I've bought rotors with a rust proofing paint on them, so I don't have to degrease them. Just have to mount them back on the hub flange. Make sure you got that surface gristle off of it, no particles behind the rotor. I'll be mounting it back on there and sticking one lug nut on it. That'll keep your rotor from flopping around, getting stuff falling down in it from the old caliper or any other stuff from putting it back together. The lug nut will hold that rotor flat. Now check the slide pins, that they move free, no restriction, and that they're not sticky or rough sounding. And then I'm going to pop these noise suppressor shims off. I wire brush out underneath of them, put them back down. You can put some grease under them too, that'll seal the rust on them. This pin's got plenty of grease on them, it's not dried out, so in business. I'll pop these shims off. I think these shims are rotten and need replaced. Or the paint's coming off of them. Scrape off any scale sticking up. Do the other side. Yeah, I think the paint's coming off of it. Put some grease under it, keep it from rusting up a little bit. Looks nice. You should wear a mask anytime you're dealing with dust off of brakes. It's pretty dangerous to keep breathing it in. I would even recommend wearing gloves while handling these brake pads because they have fibers that'll get stuck in your skin, just like little shards of metal that's embedded in it. It'll end up in your fingers if your hands aren't calloused up, and even then sometimes. Compare your new pads to the old ones, in particular where the wear indicator was. This metal strip is, when the pad gets down to the floor, it's supposed to touch the face of the rotor and squeal. Because each side will have its own location, possibly. Particularly if they just put one on them instead of both two of them. There's one for the other side, and the squealer's on the other side. So I'll be using that one, and the outer pad's just standard. I go back into this hanger. Test fit your pads, make sure they fit in there and not get hung up from corrosion or defective workmanship. These ones are sliding through like they're supposed to. Not too loose and not too tight where they can't move. Mount your caliper hanger back onto the spindle and torque these 18mm headed bolts to 77 foot-pounds. Now that those are mounted, these blades on these slide pins will sit in these slots here, keep them from turning. Sometimes they got them, sometimes they don't. So turn them out, the angle of the caliper is going to slide on it. Now take a C-clamp and compress the caliper piston down. Take your match fit pads and drop them into the spindle. Make sure these little wire things stay straight up and down pretty good. You slip the caliper on. They're noise suppressors. Turning this C-clamp should compress this caliper piston. I've stuck a brake pad in there to spread the load out. And it should go relatively easy. If it's hard going in, you probably need a caliper. Check your caliper pistons for any major damage, cracks, big chunks taken out of it, and replace as necessary. And make sure that your tabs are lined up. Just make sure that these go flat against the caliper. And watch out for any wildlife. And just push the caliper down until the bolt goes into it. Be sure not to cross thread it. It's pretty easy to do. Kind of push on the outer part straight so you're holding it square when it goes in. And make sure that this blade's flat with that notch so that it won't be doubled up on it. And tighten those down to 26 foot-pounds. These raised up washers on these slide pins should be flat against this caliper housing. No big gap in that when they're tightened down. That looks good. Put your wheel back on, tighten it down to the lug nuts go to 100 foot-pounds. Once you're done with your brake work, pump the pedal up a few times. Make sure you got brakes before you put it in gear or start it. That's usually the best policy. Unless you want to have an accident, I just kind of push it down about halfway. Just halfway, about 6 or 7, 10 times. You really don't want to run the master cylinder all the way to the floor if you can help it. It ruins them that way.